It is a beautiful Thursday morning, the 22nd of August, 2024, and the time is exactly 4 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock. Greetings, land of the brave and beyond, and a very warm welcome to your Thursday morning edition of the Public Enterprises Information Sharing Session. As always, we are live from our studios, the Government Information Center, here in the heart of the nation's capital, Windhoek. Thank you so much, Namibia, for tuning in. Now, for this morning's edition, I am your host, Heleni Felepo-Samunyela, and I, alongside my studio guests, will be keeping you company for the next hour or so. And as earlier mentioned, I've got company, and I am joined in the studio by the Chief Executive Officer of the Namibia Institute of Pathology Limited, and that is the CEO, Ms. Kapena Chombonde. I hope I pronounced it correct.
You did.
Right. Now, thank you so much, Ms. Chombonde, for making time this morning to come and educate the Namibian nation. Welcome to the Government Information Center.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Now, Namibia, today we are unpacking NIP's impact on social life in Namibia. And as earlier mentioned, I am joined by the CEO, and she is going to help us unpack that very, interesting topic of discussion. Now, for starters, Ms. Chombonde, briefly unpack for us the NIP's objects to illuminate your institution's mandate.
Thank you, Eleni. Before I speak to the objects of the NIP, I want to just start by stating that the Namibia Institute of Pathology is established by an Act of Parliament, the NIP Act of 1999. It is also then an institute that is registered with a company, with the registrars of company through the Companies Act, but also subsequently, because it is a public enterprise, it is also then classified as a commercial public enterprise under the Public Enterprises Governance Act. So now straight to the objects of the NIP, which is basically why we exist, our purpose, what drives us. I will briefly speak about the 5 objects according to Section 5 of the NIP Act. The first object is to take over the medical laboratory services from the Ministry of Health. I will just enlist the 5 objects for now, and then we can talk through them in a bit. The second one is to operate medical laboratories and provide services to both the public and the private sector. The third object is to conduct research into the pathology of diseases. The fourth one is to establish new laboratories, of course, to expand our footprint because we are all over the country. The fifth one is to promote staff training. Those are the 5 objects of the NIP.
Okay. Now, Ms. Chombonde, briefly, you've just briefly highlighted those 5 objects. Briefly speak to us about the object, the first object, which is to take over medical laboratory services from the Ministry of Health and Social Service.
Yes, Helene. So I mentioned that we were established in 1999. Before then, the NIP actually operated as a section within the Ministry of Health. So then when the Act was passed, we were mandated to establish a new institute, which is what we are today. At that time then, we had to take over the laboratories that were under the ministry, and at that time there were 23, and that one has been completed since then.
Okay. All right. Now, the second object is to operate medical laboratories and provide laboratory services for the private and public sector on a commercial basis. Can you briefly just also delve into that?
Yes, Helene. So The NIP serves about 82% of the Namibian public, and most of these Namibians are those ones that are using the public services. So because we are mandated to operate both in public and private, we had to make sure that we are able to honor our mandate and we're able to fully execute our mandate. So to that effect, we had formulated a test menu of about over 1,000 different tests that we provide to the public. And because of that very huge test menu that we have, we test about 3.5 million, we perform about 3.5 million tests per year. And we've seen a gradual escalation of the volumes per year, and that is attributable to the increasing demands from the people in the country. You know that COVID brought about a lot of conditions, and so people are really seeking medical services. In addition, you have seen the new statistics confirm that our population is growing. And therefore, then the demand is really growing exponentially at NIP. So you may want to know, what is pathology services? By definition, pathology services is medical sciences that concerns itself with the study of diseases, causes, and the impact on people. So basically, to simplify, what we do is we collect blood samples or tissues from the human after doctors performed incisions, small incisions or big incisions. We then take the samples to the laboratory. At the laboratory, then we'll do an analysis, different types of analysis, where we then subsequently then report the results of what we found in the analysis that we perform to the clinicians that then had requested the test from NIP. So we in performing the work that we do this in a three-pronged approach. We call it a pre-analytical phase, analytical phase, and a post-analytical phase. The pre really being the collection of samples from wherever it is, whether it's from a clinic, from a hospital, or from a doctor's practice. Analytical then being our technical staff performing the test in the lab, day and night, 24/7 in some of the big laboratories. And then the post really is the delivery of the results from the laboratory to the clinician that would have requested the test.
Now, of course, as an institution of pathology, one would, of course, depend so much on research. And because there is so much happening, and you cannot have everything, you can't confidently say you have everything under control. Of course, research is an ongoing and progressive thing for an institution. Briefly talk to us about your object number 3 that speaks to conducting research into the pathology of diseases.
Eleni, maybe before I unpack that object, during COVID in 2020 to 2022 about, Namibia experienced, all the globe, so to say, experienced something that human nature has never seen since we were born.
Especially
at least
our generations.
Yes, our generation. So if our medical research unit was fully functional, we would have provided proper guidance to governance, to the government, the minister, the president, as to what should happen next. Because of that virulent virus that was circulating. But then during that time in 2021, from our side then, we had to establish the research unit under the object that we are discussing. So ever since we have capacitated the research unit, our objective with the research unit is really to conduct research into the pathology of diseases, in order for Namibia to make informed decisions,
Right.
scientific decisions, and so that we also just move our public health to the next level.
Okay.
You may also recall that during COVID, they would be talking about this variant of concern and that variant of concern.
Indeed.
We were not able to do sequencing at that time, but currently, because we've capacitated our research unit, we are able to do the sequencing. We also collaborate with other national and international institutions to also just perform a research to make sure that we are able to assist our public health system.
Right. Now, as much as we say, COVID came and it really turned the nations upside down. But you see, from COVID, I think we've learned so much. Certain systems and practices were not in place, but COVID came and because we were left with no option, so some of these systems are in place, especially you've mentioned there that you now have a research unit, if I understood you correctly. And at least, going forward, if any other health ailment or any other pandemic comes, at least we now have some systems in place to ensure that we take the necessary precautions to, especially as far as pathology is concerned.
That's correct, Helene.
Right. Now, if you were done expounding on object number 3, I would like us to proceed to object number 4. Right. Now, please speak to us on the object number 4, which is to establish new medical laboratories. You have mentioned briefly, but talk to us about your footprints around the country then.
Yes. So, Helene, in 2000, when NIP opened its doors, we had 23 laboratories. But today we have expanded our footprint to 36 laboratories.
Right.
This is really to make sure that we are able to cover the vast country that we live in, but more so to make sure that we are able to provide the services at the district hospitals. The Ministry of Health has about 30 district hospitals
across the country.
Across the country, in all 14 regions. We are located at those district hospitals. But in addition, we also have other 6 laboratories, private ones that we have somewhere else across the country.
Right.
But then through this 36 laboratories, we serve about 350 public health facilities. That includes, of course, the district hospitals that I spoke to. It includes the clinics. It also includes other health centers in the country. So the only place where we are not operating from is the Okahanja Hospital, but we have made sure that our logistics in terms of sample transportation between Okahanja and Windhoek is effective. We are optimizing on the beautiful road between Windhoek and Okahanja, and it works so far. But we are monitoring the situation. If it becomes necessary, we want to be a responsive institution.
Okay. Now, with regards to the Okahanja Hospital, perhaps the residents of Okahanja would like to know, are there any future plans for NIP to be established in that hospital as well? So at the moment.
I'm coming from a meeting with the governor of Osholonjupa, and he also asked me the same question.
Right.
Now, as it were, before you embark on any initiative or activity, you look at resources, you look at strategy, you look at the need. Where we are now, we believe that the logistics that we have put in place between Okahanja and Windhoek is working. But like I said, we are monitoring and we are listening.
Okay. Right. That is fair enough. Now, of course, object number 5 is talking about, promoting staff training for medical laboratories. Yours is quite sensitive because you deal with you deal with a scientist, for lack of a better word, and of course, it's also very important to equip your staff with the necessary skills and training. Please talk to us about then object number 5.
Yes. So Eleni, our services are not just sensitive, but they also require very highly skilled staff in order for us to honor our mandate. And I want to briefly touch on the specialized diagnostic services that we provide. For example, we render services ranging from histology, cytology, and I don't want to bore you with what it means. It's too technical, but if it becomes necessary, we can unpack it, what it means and what we do when we talk about histology and cytology. We also render diagnostic services pertaining to microbiology, chemistry, immunochemistry, hematology, and molecular diagnostics. And in order for the test to be interpreted, we need pathologists. So the pathologists then will be specializing in those various disciplines that I just spoke to. Namibia has a very scarce need in terms of those specialized skills. Most of our pathologists are experts. But what we are trying to do is that we are offering scholarships to medical doctors to go qualify in any of the disciplines. And we have seen that in the past there was no interest, but we have seen that the interest in these specializations is really picking up. And we are very delighted and happy about that. One scholarship cost us about 4 million.
A single one?
A single scholarship. The training is over 4 to 5 years. Mind you, the person is already a medical doctor. They need to go for another 4 to 5 years.
Extra 4 to 5 years.
Extra 4 to 5 years to specialize, and it's a very hands-on practical training because in our space there's no room for error. The precision of the work that we do and the quality 100%. Surpasses everything that we do. In addition, there was also a scarcity in terms of medical technologists in the past. But NIP has collaborated with NAST, and I can confidently say that we have oversupply of medical technologies in the country. What we need, however, is specialized medical technologists. And we've also now started sending our own staff members to go elsewhere to go specialize and become specialized medical scientists. On an annual basis also, because we continue to collaborate with NAST, we offer internship of about 50 students that come into the lab just for experiential training. So we cannot continue to suffer from this scarce skills. The plans that we have at NIP is to engage our local universities and see how we can localize pathology training, because we need pathologists in the country.
Now that brings me to the next question. As we are speaking, as you are talking, I couldn't help but think, does the NIP perhaps have any plans of establishing its own, let's say, because you have like other institutions, let me say, Pathcare, the private ones, that would provide what do they call it? It's for, I think, I'm not too sure, but it's like a college or academy where they then train their lab technicians, their medical, I don't know the terminologies, but yes, there is something as such. Is there something in plan for NIP to establish an institution or an academy of their own?
Well, for us, not directly establishing an academy per se, we are certified as a training institute. And that is why we're able to host the interns from NAST. What we are busy doing now is setting up a training lab at our national reference lab. And with that lab, we just want to improve the capacity and the skills of our staff internally. We have resources of pathologists that can do this work for us, that can train and capacitate our staff. So that's really our first start. In terms of setting up an academy, not in the near future, but collaboration with other institutes, of course we're going to do that, because we regard our staff members as a core competency of our institution.
Yes. Your number one resources. Now, Moving on to your strategy. Of course, every institution has a strategy to implement and to assist you, honor your mandate. Talk to us about the strategy of NIP that is in place in order to assist you honor the mandate that, executing.
Eleni, if I'm to unpack the whole strategy, we'll sleep here today, but I will just give you a glimpse
Briefly,
of
yes.
the key initiatives or key projects that we're undertaking right now at NIP.
Okay.
So when I took office in 2021, we had to formulate a strategy. And of course, when you are formulating a strategy, there's a requirement to do an analysis to understand the needs, because your strategy must be responsive to what you want to do. So we ended up formulating the strategy and we are busy implementing. But I want to talk to you about the challenges we found, which we are responding to in our strategy. And we call it the transformational strategy. It is themed Zatuka. It's a Rukwangali name that means the plane has taken off.
Okay.
But then somebody was just saying you can also say it's a Shierero, because a Shierero can be like Zatuka.
Zatuka.
Yeah, but then Zatuka who flow. But this one says Zatuka is like the plane has taken off.
Right.
So at NIP, every employee has signed their departure forms. They pack their suitcases. We are cruising as I'm speaking. And that is really how we personify our strategy.
Right.
So what we found during the SWOT analysis is that our testing platforms from which we are supposed to perform tests were beyond useful life.
Okay.
And they were frequently breaking down.
Sorry to interject, Ms. Chambonde.
Yes.
When you say your testing points, are we referring to the labs?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm referring to the labs, the instruments and the equipment that we are using in the lab to perform the testing in the analytical phase that I spoke to. So they were beyond useful life. And we've also discovered at the time that our sample transportation logistics were inefficient. The collection of samples from the clinics, from wherever they are, were also ineffective. It doesn't help you, Eleni, to have a highly specialized team in the lab, but the samples are not getting to the lab, and they are also not getting to the lab in good shape and form.
Right.
So that...
with outdated equipment.
Yeah, that phase before the sample comes to the lab is as critical as the performance of the test in the lab.
Right.
So that's one of the things we also found that it was ineffective. We also then, of course, found that the supply chain logistics were also ineffective, exacerbated by the Public Procurement Act. Every commodity we use at NIP is imported. Everything is imported. And mind you, the service we render is a life-saving service. Every commodity based. So we need to have our supply chain logistics to the point. Otherwise, a life can be lost.
Right. And one life.
And one life is one too many.
One too many.
One life is one too many. So in a nutshell, we found that our service levels were unsatisfactory. And that is why we had to formulate a responsive strategy in order to make sure that we meet the needs of our customers.
Correct. Okay. Now, of course, you've earlier mentioned, Ms. Chambonde, about the outdated devices or equipment in your labs. How has the process been then to acquire the new and new machineries or devices or equipments for your labs? How has the process been, and what challenges have you encountered in so doing?
So I mentioned that we formulated our strategy in 2021 and implementation commenced in 2022. So during 2022, we spent a lot of time putting together requirements for the specific high-tech testing platforms or instruments. We spend a lot of time on engaging the ministry and the policy unit in terms of fast-tracking, seeking for exemptions for this and that. And of course, the procurement process is a very protracted process. There's no two ways about it. And we have seen that delivery of equipments after the full procurement process was followed only started last year, 2023. And for example, one of the big testing platforms that we've been waiting for so badly, we had to take that bid to the CBPN because it was beyond my jurisdiction. So it was quite challenging. You have an instrument that breaks down, and the doctor is waiting for the results. It's not as if I can go to the shop or fly to South Africa and go buy the instrument, come back, install and test.
Right.
There's a procedure that I have to follow. Otherwise, I'm non-compliant. So it is quite challenging to operate in a space like this and following that process, because the life of a person doesn't wait for procurement process. But the ministry has been listening to us in many instances, and we continue to engage them to make sure that we improve the procurement process.
Right. Now, of course, I'm thinking it must really have been a challenge, but there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. You did mention that it only picked up last year, or is it 2022?
Yes, 2023, correct.
Okay. Now, Namibia, you are still tuned into the Government Information Center. I am joined in the studio by the CEO, Mrs. Kapena Shombonde, and she's here to help us unpack everything pertaining to NIP's impact on social life. Do form part of the discussion. Join us on our social media platforms. On Facebook, we are live at Ministry of Information and Communications Technology. Alternatively, you can also stream us live, and our handle there at YouTube is MICT Namibia. You are tuned into the Public Enterprises Information Sharing Session with me, Heleni Felepe-Samunyela, and I am joined, like earlier mentioned, by Ms. Kapena Shombonde. She is the CEO of NIP. You can also then post your questions on our social media in the comment spaces there, and then post your questions for Mrs. Shombonde to respond to. Now back to our discussion, Ms. Shombonde. Of course, you also would want to, one of the key aspects of your strategy is to be responsive to your customers. Can you kindly please expound a little bit more on that?
Yes, so the operating model that NIP was operating under for the past 23 years, if my math is correct.
Okay.
Was working with the demands at the time. It was working with the population size at the time. It was working with what was happening at the time. But one of the things we had to do as part of our strategy is to relook at the operating model. And we have decided then and revised to implement a hub-spoke node operating model. What this model will do is that we will establish 6 centers of excellence across the country. This, we believe, will increase customer experience. It will be responsive to disease outbreaks. It will be responsive to surveillance. It will be responsive to the demands of today, especially after COVID.
Right.
We believe that if we implement that, the centers of excellence, NIP will become a model public enterprise.
Right.
We are very proud of that. So we have commenced, and we are hard at work in setting up 2 centers of excellence already. The first one, we are hoping to open doors in April next year. This will be the molecular medicine Center of Excellence.
Okay. Where will that be based?
It will be in Windhoek at the Central Hospital.
Okay.
We are busy modifying the building.
Okay.
The bid was just awarded by CBBN.
All right.
For the high-tech automated instrument that will be placed in that lab.
Okay.
We understand that such lab will be the second in Africa. So Namibia is breaking ground.
Proud.
So Eleni, allow me to just speak through the centers of excellence quickly. So the first one will be established in Windhoek. It is the Molecular Medicine Center of Excellence. The second one will be in Oshakati, which is the Anatomical Center of Excellence. We've made good advances in terms of establishing that center. Hopefully next year, mid towards the end, we should be able to open that one.
Okay.
The next one then will be in Rundu, microbiology, and then Keetmanshoop, reproductive biology.
Okay.
And subsequently, we'll then move to Swakopmund, where we are going to set up the clinical pathology lab, and then Umuthia, where we'll set up the mycology lab. So those are the centers of excellence that we are going to set up. It by no means does it mean that all the 36 labs will be closed and then we'll just be operating the 6. But Windhoek will be the hub. The centers of excellence surrounding that will be the nodes, and then the rest will be the spokes.
Okay.
The spokes and the nodes. The spokes are the centers, and then the nodes are the other labs in the periphery.
Right.
That's the new operating model that we are busy implementing.
Okay.
Yes.
How has that process kicked off, and any challenges with regards to the implementation thereof?
The challenges that we have experienced, well, it has kicked off, but it's very slow.
Okay.
We wanted to open the doors of the Center of Excellence already last year. So we are delayed with about 12 months or so.
Okay.
And again, it's procurement.
Better late than never.
Better late than never, but then it's the procurement process that we had to undertake in order to get the instruments that we need, the architect to modify the buildings and all of that. So I think those primarily are the challenges that we've encountered so far.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, technology-wise, how is NIP, incorporating technology in the implementation of the strategy or whatever? Because yours is quite, like you mentioned earlier, precision and accuracy is key. So how are you incorporating technology into NIP's strategical implementations?
So as part of our transformational strategy, we also formulated the digital transformation strategy that we are busy implementing. We are on course with that. For example, what we've done as part of that strategy, we implemented a new system. We went live with a new operating system in April last year. Okay. Of course, we had teething challenges here and there. We are still ironing out the challenges that we have. But what came with that new operating system is that the medical practitioners can access results on their tablets or on their phones.
Right.
Which is faster.
It's faster. It's convenient.
Quick. It's convenient. And so what we are doing right now, also as part of the digital transformation strategy, is that we procured about 370 tablets that we are going to install at the clinics and the health facilities in the periphery.
Right.
This is a complement to the CDC that has also assisted us in buying some of the tablets. So it's a collaboration between us, Ministry of Health, and then the Center of Diseases
Control. Okay.
Control, yes. So we are implementing the tablets. We have the new system, accessibility of results. Remember I spoke to you about delivery of results. The doctor is waiting for the results.
Right.
So right now, once the lab team is done with the testing, the doctor is able to access the results immediately.
I love that.
So that improves the quality of life, the management of the patient, and the decision making by the doctor, and the time from the doctor as well.
Right.
And maybe in addition, I spoke to you about the challenges that we experience as far as the procurement process is concerned. We managed to automate our procurement process. So, because the Procurement Act requires that all procurements are approved by the accounting officer, I'm able to do this wherever I am.
I
don't
love
have to
that
go
efficiency.
to the office and find a heap of files and documents on my table to approve. So the automation of the process also brought efficiencies in our processes, and operational efficiency is what we're driving at. So our digital transformation strategy is squarely aligned to operational efficiency.
Okay. That is good to note, and I'm sure all the other institutions that are watching that would want to learn from you, most probably they'll come knocking, how you automated, to want to know, to acquaint themselves with how you automated your procurement processes, as you earlier mentioned.
By all means. By all means.
Right. I like that she's open to teach.
Yes.
Right. Now, kindly talk to us about the processes of implementing then your business improved framework, if you may.
Yes, Helene. So our operation is heavily reliant and based on SOPs, standard operating procedures, on processes, and if our SOPs or our procedures and our processes are bureaucratic, we will not get the result to the doctor.
Absolutely.
So you may understand why the NIP is putting special emphasis on process management to improve the business. So to that effect, we commenced with creating an architecture of all our processes. We want to know how many processes do we have at NIP. We also want to know which processes are performing optimally, which processes are affecting customer experience. As we are building our architecture, we are also re-engineering the processes. We are automating. I just spoke to you about the procurement process that has been automated.
Right.
We've also automated our contracts management process. We have an in-house development team that assist us with these efficiencies. We also have a business improvement department that is hard at work, that travels across the country to make assessments and analysis on the performance of our processes. Because we are very serious about our mandate, we keep to the quality standards that we have set for ourselves.
Right.
Pardon me. So we have of our 36 labs, 14 labs are internationally accredited. And we have recently successfully transitioned to the new ISO 15189 2022 standards.
Right.
And our labs are busy undergoing assessment in accordance with those standards. But having quality management system in the laboratory alone is not enough. What we've also done is to implement a total quality management process across business, so that the support services partner efficiently with core business, and we are supporting the outcomes of the core business and therefore honoring our mandate. So there's a huge hype about process improvement at NIP right now going on, because the thematic goal that we want to achieve after 5 years is to be a top-class, operationally efficient institution. And that can only become a reality if our processes are performing optimally.
Right. I like that you actually mentioned that you're re-engineering and you will start customizing the processes so that it speaks to the needs of your clients. And it's really notable and commendable to hear you speak like this. I think a lot of institutions should really learn a lot from the NIP, because I'm impressed this morning.
You're humbled.
Right. Now, let's move on to social value and impact. Talk to us about your medical decision depending on laboratory results. What does that mean for a layman?
In simple terms, and I'm sure all of us have experienced this, when you visit your doctor, the doctor will say, I hear what you are saying, but let's collect a blood sample.
Indeed.
And then the blood sample is collected. The doctor will probably just give you medication to manage the pain that you have, but doctor will not know exactly
the
diagnosis. And this is so 70% of the time. 70% of the time, the clinicians rely on laboratory results in order to make a definitive decision on the diagnosis and the treatment plan, informing the outcome of the patient. That is the significance of the work we do, and therefore, the clinician should not wait. The patient should not wait for results. Of course, we have been a little bit inefficient in one or another way, but we are really working very hard to make sure that we make that impact that we're supposed to make on society. Because if doctor cannot diagnose, the patient is hanging in the balance, you understand. Yeah. Waiting for the results, I don't know what's going to happen to me, I don't know what's wrong with me. It impacts, it creates mental issues,
tensions,
quality of life, and if it's
anxiety also.
Anxiety, if it's somebody that, I always make this example that the person that is selling kapana on the road and is waiting for a diagnosis in the hospital is unable to send the kids to school.
Right.
The kids are waiting for mommy to come back so that mommy can sell some products in order to pay my school fees or I have bread. So that is really our heavy, heavy impact on society of the work we do. So we can't compromise on anything.
Right.
We can't compromise on anything. And we are very, very serious about our mandate, and that is why we have such a vast footprint in the country.
No, absolutely. Okay, of course you've expounded on the medical decisions depend. Now let's dwell a little bit on the impact on social life as a result of NIP failure. What can that be attributed to?
A healthy nation means a lot to any nation. And the impact that we have on that is so vast that it can cause a lot of damage if we are not doing what we are supposed to do.
Indeed.
It actually can pose a national security risk. Imagine during COVID, Eleni, if nobody in the country was able to perform the test.
Right.
The rate at which COVID was spreading.
That's a bad memory.
We were losing our loved ones during COVID. Imagine waiting for South Africa or Botswana.
When they have their own national
when they had their own test to perform. And I remember during that time, there was a time we had about 14,000 samples we had to perform. And it's at that point when the ministry decided we have to find a way. But that is the risk and the impact of the work that we do on social life. Not just on health, on public health, but also on social and consequently on the economy of the country. So if NIP services are disrupted,
a healthy nation means productive.
You can complete that one for me. You can complete that one for me.
Right.
So if you look at our work, Eleni, you can squarely put it under a constitutional right to health, to life.
Yes.
All of us,
protection.
We all have a right to life. So we need to play our part to protect the lives of the 82% Namibians that we provide a service to. That is really the short of the long in terms of the impact to society.
Right. Okay, I'm learning quite a lot from the CEO here in studio with me, Mrs. Kapena Shambonde, the CEO of the NIP in short. Let me not rename it or baptize it other names. Namibia Institution of Pathology. We are learning quite a lot, and there is quite a lot that is happening under, at the background. In many times, if we don't have the CEOs here in studio, then we feel like we don't know much of what the nation is expecting or from the institution. But yeah, it's quite notable and commendable to hear the hard work that you've been putting in at the back in the background. Maybe in conclusion, since 2021, you've earlier mentioned NIP worked towards its compliance to the Public Enterprises Governance Act of 2019. What are the key highlights in that regard?
So as a commercial public enterprise, we are competing with the giants that have been around as commercial public enterprises. We've developed a checklist in terms of the elements in the Public Enterprises Governance Act, what we're supposed to do, and we monitor that very closely. Part of it is making sure that our audited financial statements are done 6 months after the financial year end. Where we are now is that we are busy with the 2023 audited financials. We are hoping to finalize the 2024 financials this calendar year still, and hopefully we should be fully compliant, because we had a somewhat outstanding AFSs as well.
Okay.
We have formulated our integrated strategic business plan, which is also one of the requirements. Our annual business plans and our budgets are approved. They are always approved every year by the minister. We also just make sure that our governance agreements and our remuneration is aligned to the Public Enterprises Governance Act.
Okay. It is commendable to note, like I keep saying, I am really impressed with the operations of NIP. Now, with regards to Zatuka's strategy towards the community and economy, can you briefly highlight what NIP has created for the value of the community through your corporate social responsibilities?
We have formulated a policy in order to govern our corporate social investment activities, and our primary focus is towards supporting the community as far as health and social welfare is concerned, education, skills development, research, and then strategic partnerships. So every year we formulate a program that we implement. We are hoping to, in this financial year, to really deliver a huge project that has a big impact on society, because the current buzzword is the ESGs.
So ESG meaning?
ESGs.
Short for?
Environment, social, and governance.
Okay. Sorry for putting you on the spotlight there. I wanted to learn.
Yeah. No, so that's really that's the buzzword in terms of governance. And also, even when we are producing our annual reports, they must be integrated reports, not just normal annual reports. So that's what we are chasing to do.
Okay.
The report that is about to be produced will be an integrated report which speaks to the ESGs.
Right.
Those capitals that are mentioned under those themes. So basically, that's what we are doing. We have a program that we are running. It's infant, but we believe that it will grow and it will make the necessary impact on society.
Right. Right. Now, Ms. Chombonde, we have come to the end of today's discussion. But before I let you go, I would like to accord you this opportunity to say, your last remarks. Being at the helm of such an important institution, the lives of so many millions of Namibians depend on it. You kindly give us your final words, please.
To the Namibian nation, I really want to say in closing that we remain steadfast in our commitment to ethical leadership. We have to portray ethical leadership to guard the integrity of the work we do, considering the sensitivity. And we pledge to maintain the quality that we deliver as far as our services are concerned. And we are also very open to feedback. If there is something that is not of good taste anywhere, everywhere to anybody, please do reach out to our offices. We are open for feedback. We thrive on feedback. If we are not being told by our customers, by stakeholders, how they receive our services, we will sit in boardrooms and take decisions and not know how it impacts our clientele. We remain open to feedback. Please do reach out and speak to us. Thank you.
Right. Briefly put, I like that. I've learned so much. I, for one, have learned so much this morning from this very discussion. For me, it was quite fruitful, and I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of many Namibians that were listening and watching on their TV sets. We appreciate you. Pardon me, the English is not Englishing well this morning, but anyways, we move. Yes, so we appreciate you so much for taking time off your busy schedule to come and, educate the Namibian nation with regards to matters relating to the NIP. Please do not get tired of us knocking at your doors, because we will keep coming. Right. Thank you so much, Ms. Shombonde.
Anytime. Thank you so much for having us.
Right. Now, Namibia, that is all the time we had for today's discussion. Please do join us again next time when we bring you another fruitful discussion here at the Government Information Center. From myself, Hileni Felapesamunyela, and the entire GIC production crew, until next time, take care.